Hi everyone, Dani here, and welcome back to Spenelli Speaks. And if you are new here, welcome. Today is a little bit of a different video for me as I have never done one of these, and if you can already tell by the thumbnail, I am doing a Friday reads. I have been extremely inconsistent for the last 2 years, basically since my daughter was born. Just have had a lot of priorities above YouTube. Mainly just not feeling the motivation to hop online because to me it's like an indulgence because it's a hobby, it's something that I do for fun. And when I have a lot of other things around the house that I should be doing, I feel really guilty to kind of, like I said, indulge myself with my hobby, which I love and I adore and really enjoy the community. So I also feel guilty about that. So it's like a double-edged sword. I really want to do it, but then I feel guilty. And I don't do it, then I feel guilty. So anywho, I decided I would try Friday reads to kind of get into a habit of filming something that is bookish, something that is fun for me, something that connects me to you, the community. So if you've been to my channel before, something a little bit different, trying something new. If this is your first time joining me, welcome and thank you for joining me on my very first Friday reads. I don't really have a plan for these. If you have any suggestions of what you would like to see from me on Fridays, let me know in the comments, obviously within reason, but I am basically just going to go through what I have recently read, what I'm currently reading, and perhaps what I will be reading. And then if anything else crazy happened in the week, maybe I'll tell you a story or two, because you know how Dani likes to ramble. That said, I do want to keep these short. I do want to keep them short because I know that if you're interested in Friday reads, you're probably interested in a lot of people's Fridays reads. So I don't want to keep you too long. I want you to be able to indulge in other people's Friday reads as well. So let's just jump right on into it. I have been reading here and there, not as much as I would like to, but I feel really good about what I have been reading. Books that I have finished and that I have read, I recently finished The Lincoln Lawyer, so you can kind of see I have a few books over here, Lincoln Lawyer being one of them, and that is by Michael Connelly. And what brought me to that book actually was watching the Netflix show, and I was like, oh, I have Lincoln Lawyer on my shelves. Why don't I go ahead and read that? And typically, if I've already watched a show, I hesitate in reading the book because, you know, the book is always better. And when you've watched the show first, it kind of like bloodies the water, so to speak. However, I read the book and thoroughly enjoyed it. I would say probably 4-star rating for me. Lincoln Lawyer is about a lawyer, a defense lawyer named Mickey Holler, and he is very unusual in the sense that like he really works his avenues to get his people off of whatever crime they have committed. And the reason why he's called Lincoln Lawyer is because he works out of his Lincoln car. If you're familiar with the Matthew McConaughey movie, there was also a movie. To each credits, as far as the book and the show goes. The book, like I said, was really good. He comes in contact with this man who's being accused of attempted murder, and a lot of crazy stuff happens. Now, you would think, okay, well, if you saw the show, would you already know what happens? Not really. So the show takes bits and pieces from the first book, and I guess book 3 and 5 are what the first season and second season are. So they really took from a couple of the different books. So while I was reading book 1, The Lincoln Lawyer, I was still completely satisfied and totally thrown off by the ending and how everything came to fruition. So if you've already seen the Lincoln Lawyer show on Netflix, you will still be pleased by the book. I really enjoyed it. I haven't read a lawyer or police procedural in a really long time. Not a really long time. I think the last one I read was Dark Crimes in the summer or in the winter. I don't even know. Well, that's for another day. But I really liked Lincoln Lawyer. I would give it 4 stars. It was a great book. I'm really I think I'm going to continue in the series, and I didn't anticipate that when I first read the book. I was just like, I'll just read this to see how it is compared to the show, and pleasantly surprised. And then the other book that you see here is a book called Blue Asylum. I just found this in my room. I must have received it from my mom like ages ago, and sometimes books just randomly go into piles in different places, and I found it because I couldn't go into my book room because my son was sleeping in there at the time, and I really just wanted to start reading something, and I found this and I was like, what is this? Well, this is a Civil War era book, so it's historical fiction, and I've read the first chapter, so kind of like a try chapter. I'm going to continue, and it has kind of different perspectives throughout the same chapter, so we follow like all of the characters that are involved, the main character being Iris, and she is being sent to an insane asylum on this island off of the coast of Florida by her husband. From the inklings that I have gotten, it sounds like he did something just horrific, and she went against that and basically was then deemed mad by her husband and a judge. And you know how women are just mad, you know, if we have any feelings, especially back then, we're off our rockers. So she is sent to this insane asylum. There is a gentleman there who you can tell from just reading the small snippet of his perspective. He is a Civil War soldier and probably suffering from PTSD. And then we also see the perspective of a young boy who is the son of like the warden of the insane asylum, and he had befriended someone he was referring to who had recently passed. So we're going to see how all these people are interconnected. I believe that Iris and the soldier end up with some kind of love interest piece there. But I was pleasantly surprised. The only thing I would say is I don't like when perspectives like the timeline keeps going back and forth. I like when it just continues linearly. Is that a word? Anywho, I don't, but this one, it was Iris, then you'd come back and it was the soldier, then it would come back and it was the boy, but it was all in one chapter, no chapter breaks, nothing like that. It was just like in the next paragraph, then the next paragraph. So that was a little kooky to me, but overall, I am enjoying this, so I will be continuing on. Beside that, I am also reading in audio. It is so it's not really part of a series. It is, I think, the beginning of what was it was a book in one series, which then created a spin-off series. And I'm just going to pull it up here so you can see. But many of you who have followed me before know that I read from Penny Reid and her Winston Brothers series. Well, this sister, started the series in Beauty and the Mustache, and I'm sorry, you can kind of see my lighting there, and that is book 4 in the Knitting in the City series. I have not read any of those books, but I found that this was Ashley's book. Ashley is the sister of all of the Winston brothers. Without going too far into that, it's a whole other series, and chronologically, the first book. So I got that on my Audible and have been listening to that, and I'm so thrilled that I am, because it's a whole chunk of the story before it really all begins in the Winston Brothers series. So I've been thoroughly enjoying that. I'm not quite sure how far I am. I want to say I'm like at 50%, but that follows Ashley as she comes home. Her mother is very ill, and it turns out she's passing. She's in hospice essentially, and Ashley, who's been gone for 8 years, is kind of rekindling her relationships with her brothers, as well as she's met a man who is very close with the family. So we're kind of following that. So it's interesting to see a book that is happening during what will be the most impactful and probably saddest moment of these people's lives. And there's like a budding romance. So it's very good. I like it. The one thing I would say is different from the Winston Brothers series. In the Winston Brothers series, you follow the perspective of both the female and male characters. In this one, you only follow Ashley's side of the story. So that's a little bit different, but not horrendous. I just noticed the difference. Another book that I need to start reading, like I would say in the next like 3 days, because it is DoubleBookedCo's book club book, and I'm supposed to have read it for our discussion, which is happening on Tuesday. So literally I need to read it this weekend, and the only way I can find it is on my Audible, so I'm gonna have to listen to it. So I'm gonna have to really like hunker in and just do it. And that is Meeting Millie. And that is a first in a series. So this is what the cover looks like. And I'm sorry if the lighting is really weird, but it's by Clare, Ashton. And it's a friends to lovers romance. And the two main characters are both female. And that's about all I know about it. It sounds like they're friends for a really long time. And then it, like I said, friends to lovers. So we're reading that for Pride Month, and we'll be having a live discussion on that on Tuesday, June 25th. So this coming Tuesday. So if you're interested, you can jump over to DoubleBookedCo's channel for that. So I have to start reading that. I haven't gotten into it because usually what happens is I start in the beginning of the month, but I was like, oh, I need to find it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then people in our Voxer group started to talk about it, and they were like hemming and hawing about it, like if it was good. And I was like, oh, and then it starts to get in your head, and you're like, oh, do I really want to read this? Is it going to be any good? I don't know. But I have to read it because I'm a moderator and I need to read the books that we choose so that I can moderate them. So I got to get that. Then the last book I'm going to talk about in this Friday Reads, and I realize that we're already almost 15 minutes, and I apologize because I said I was going to keep this short, but maybe the first one is just going to be a little bit longer, and then the rest of them will be shorter. But that is, I know I've talked to you guys about this before, but I'm still waiting from the Libby app for Death by Darjeeling. I started reading this book in April. Okay, April. So this is by Laura Childs. It's the first in her like T series. I don't know what it's called in general, but it doesn't say here. I can't find it. But I started reading this book in April, and it's a cozy mystery. There's a murder, and this person who owns a tea shop is basically investigating. And I like it. I thoroughly enjoy it. But it's an ebook, so it's been taking me a little bit, and you only get these for 14 days. And I know half of you are like, 14 days, you can't read a book in 14 days. Listen, life is rough, okay? So I had to return it. Then I was able to get it back in May, and I read more. I'm like 60% done. And then all of a sudden I only had one more day, and I couldn't finish it. So I had to return it, and then I thought that I was going to be able to get it back, like, because the first time I only had to wait like 2 weeks. No, the next time it was like 16. It was forever. So it's been sitting at 5 weeks forever. Now it's on 4 weeks. I'm like 5th in line or 4th in line, but there's only 2 copies. It's like, oh my goodness. So I really want to finish that book. So hopefully sometime soon in the next Friday Reads or so, you will hear me tell you I have finished that book because I finally have gotten it. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, those are all of the books that I am currently reading right now or have read. I'm hoping to finish Meeting Millie and Beauty and the Mustache this weekend because I'm really enjoying Beauty and the Mustache, and I really have to read Meeting Millie. The Blue Asylum book, I don't know, that's kind of like more of a laid back one. I can kind of read. So you may not see that right away. But those other two you'll definitely hear from me quite soon. And then as soon as I get the Darjeeling book, I will let you know. Beside that, as far as what I've been watching a lot of YouTube, random like anti-MLM content. I don't know why, I just fell down a rabbit hole. I obviously watched all of Bridgerton. Who hasn't? Same day, like I think it came out on a Thursday. I was done by Friday night because I mean, what else can you do? You have to, and it was good. I definitely liked it more than the second season, but I would say there is no comparing first season. The first season was by far the best season, but this third season, I would say if I were to rank them, not getting too involved, I would say season 1 of Bridgerton, Queen Charlotte, season 3 of Bridgerton, and then season 2 of Bridgerton. That's how I'd rank those. So hopefully we get another Bridgerton story series, but I mean, if you've read any of the articles, we're not going to see another Bridgerton for like until 2026. So yeah, we watch it in one day, but then we have to wait, 2 years for the next season. So anywho, let's get off that soapbox. I'm already to 16 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, this is something new. Let me know in the comments what you're reading, what you finished, what you're hoping to get to. Let me know if there's anything specifically that you're like, this is really great. This is what I like to hear on Friday Reads. And maybe I can get that in next week. But until then, I hope you're reading something fantastic, taking care, staying safe, and as always, you know how it goes.